Welcome back. All right, so John Tavares hits 1,000 points last night, and I figured let's talk about John Tavares today. Number one draft pick in 2009, and there was a lot of hype about him. Now, he was a few days too young to be in the 2008 draft. His agent lobbied for the NHL and the NHLPA to make an exception, get that exception rule going, because it had worked for them before. The OHL allowed him to be drafted at 14 using the exceptional player clause. They changed the rules so that he could be drafted at 14. So he was seen as a very good player long before he set foot on the ice at the National Hockey League level. So when it didn't work, he couldn't be in the 2008 draft. He slips to the 2009 draft due to his age, and he's the number one pick for the New York Islanders. And so much hype around him. The Islanders excited to get him, and 2009, 2010, he sets foot on NHL ice, and he doesn't look out of place. Plays 82 games for the Islanders, 24 goals, 30 assists, 54 points. He was fifth in Calder voting, so that's a good rookie season right there. 2010-2011, 79 games, 29 goals, 38 assists, 67 points. He's not setting the world on fire when it comes to scoring, but keep in mind this is where there's lower scoring totals in 2010-2011 than what we have now. 2011-2012, 82 games, 31 goals, 50 assists, which was good for ninth in the NHL. His 81 points was seventh in the NHL, and he makes his first appearance at an NHL All-Star game. So things are going well. You'll notice there's no playoffs because the team on the ice, there's mismanagement issues that caused the Islanders to become the team that drafted Tavares, and those issues would still persist throughout a lot of the time he's there. 2012-2013, a lockout-shortened season of 48 games. He plays all 48. His 28 goals is third overall in the NHL, 19 assists, 47 points. In the playoffs, yes, playoffs for him that year, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points in 6 games. He was third in Hart voting. So, real coming out party for him. Bunch of goals through 48 games. Everything looks good. 2013-2014, he only plays 59 games that year. 24 goals, 42 assists, 66 points. So when he's in the lineup, he's better than a point per game, and that's the first time in his career he'd been above a point per game. 2014-2015, 82 games played, 38 goals, which is fourth overall in the NHL that year, 48 assists, which is ninth overall in the NHL that year, 86 points, which is second in the league that season. In the playoffs, 7 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. He's a first-team All-Star. He is a player who finishes third in the Hart voting and plays in another All-Star game that year. So things are going well. The Islanders seem to be tracking in the right direction, but getting out of the first round had been a problem. 2015-2016, they find the solution to that problem in playing the Florida Panthers in the first round. Also, 78 games played for Tavares, 33 goals, which is 10th overall, 37 assists, 70 points. In the playoffs, like I said, they get out of the first round, 11 games, 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 points, and another All-Star game appearance. 2016-2017, 77 games. His totals drop off a little bit. 28 goals, 38 assists, 66 points. Like I said, just a little bit. 8th in Selke voting, though, and All-Star game appearance number 4. So being 8th in the Selke voting, he's a pretty good two-way forward. In Toronto right now, you have Tavares, you have Matthews, who both have that in their game. It's a whole debate that runs about Matthews, but I think Tavares' defensive abilities sometimes underrated. 2017-2018, and what would prove to be his final year in New York. So this is where the conversation really gets started. 82 games, 37 goals, 47 assists, 84 points, and he plays in the All-Star game. A lot of discussion about whether or not GM Garth Snow should trade him at the deadline, and the answer was no for Garth Snow. And ownership of the New York Islanders didn't want him being traded either. They didn't feel that Tavares was going anywhere, and they wanted to keep Tavares, and they did everything they could to keep him around. But by the time things change, and by change I mean Lou Lamoriello takes over and Garth Snow's out of a job, it was clear that things weren't necessarily going as well between the Islanders and Tavares as we might have thought, or Tavares just realized, hey, I've got a chance to realize a childhood dream, and his childhood dream had been to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's a trope. It's like it's said so often. It's so cliche now that there's so many players in the NHL that are from Ontario that it's easy to tell a tale of how players want to play for the Leafs. But in Tavares' case, he makes it come true, right? Now, the problem is he had assured Islanders fans and the Islanders themselves he wasn't going anywhere. Staying here. Not going anywhere. I have no interest in going anywhere else. But again, as you get closer and closer to that free agency period, it has to enter your mind a little bit. He did see 6 different teams when he was going through the process of trying to figure out who he was going to sign with. And on July the 1st, he does sign with the Toronto Maple Leafs, which was a surprise to many. And of course, he chose to announce it himself on Twitter with himself in his Leafs blankets and, saying it's not every day you get to live out a childhood dream, which Islander fans weren't happy about. And while he has always been complimentary of his time with the Islanders, I don't know that Islander fans care. I don't think that Islander fans are big on the placating he tries to do with that. And again, I'm not saying he's lying, but you're not going to stop them from not being happy you left and being angry about it. And of course, the discussion became whether or not Tavares was worth what the Leafs gave him, which is still a discussion we have today. So it's a 7-year deal with the Leafs, signed July 1st of 2018. $77 million. So the cap hits $11 million. So the expiration for that is next year, 2025. It's the same year that Marner's contract expires. So if you're wondering how long can this Leafs team be held together, my answer would be things could change dramatically between now and 2025. You have Nylander up, Tavares up in 2025. Nylander's up in 2024, of course, and Marner in 2025. So that's 3 of your core 4 right there. Matthews, of course, has signed an extension, but we'll see. Now, reportedly, the Islanders were offering Tavares much more money. They were offering him $12 million or higher per season to stay with the New York Islanders. Now, I want you to think about the situations the Islanders have been in cap-wise since then, and just imagine that $12 million cap hit for Tavares. Would he have lived up to it? I don't know that he would have. And I say that not because I'm saying Tavares isn't a great center or anything, but $12 million is a lot of money under the cap, and the amount of scrutiny he'd be under would be a lot. I don't think the Islanders would have won a cup over the years after signing that contract. And so, I think if he had signed that contract, if the Islanders had signed him, we'd have a completely different storyline. I think I'd be doing this video of him reaching 1,000 points, and the argument would still be, is he worth that contract should the Islanders have let him go on July 1st of 2018? But he signs with the Leafs, and so plays 82 games that first year with the Leafs, 47 goals, which is 3rd overall in the NHL, 41 assists, 88 points. By all accounts, a great first season, right? 7 games in the playoffs, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. He did play in the All-Star game that year as well. 2019-2020. So we had the pause, which means 63 games for him. 26 goals, 34 assists, 60 points. So right around a point per game in the playoffs. 2 goals and an assist for 3 points in 5 games. One discussion we'll have when his career is officially done is whether or not his Stanley Cup playoff record is going to hurt his ability to get into the Hall of Fame. Now, of course, there's time between now and when he would retire, but it is a discussion to have at some point about what his Hall of Fame resume looks like. I would say borderline right now that he makes it, but again, we'll see if things change between now and when he retires. 2020, 2021, just the 56 game schedule. He plays all 56, 19 goals, 31 assists, 50 points. Easy for me to say. Just the 1 game in the playoffs because he gets hurt early. So for Toronto fans, when they did lose that series against Montreal in 7, there was a lot of arguments of, well, Tavares is out. I'm not saying it's not a valid argument, but at the same time, they had the 3-1 series lead without him. So it's a whole debate we can have another time, but he only plays the 1 game in those playoffs. 2021-2022, 79 games played, 27 goals, 49 assists, 76 points. So again, he's right around point per game. In the playoffs, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in 7 games. So it's not that he doesn't produce in the playoffs. It's just teams he's on in the playoffs don't necessarily do very well. And of course, people will point out, and rightfully so, well, it's the Islanders and the Leafs. So, the Islanders have, though, been to conference finals twice since he left. So for Islander fans, that's what they can point to and say, well, that proves that without Tavares, they were the better team. 2022-2023, 80 games played, 36 goals, 44 assists, 80 points. So remarkably consistent in his production. In the playoffs, 11 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. So Toronto finally gets that first win in a playoff series in about 20 years and then gets pushed aside by Florida in the next round. This season so far, 25 games played, 8 goals, 17 assists, 25 points. In the playoffs, we'll find out later. So I'm used to saying in the playoffs, but yeah, we're not to the end of the season. So I can't let people know my psychic abilities yet. So he's a point per game. That's where he stays. That's what he is. He's a point per game player. He's on pace for about 25, 26 goals this year, which is low-ish, but I mean, he had 27 back just 2 years ago. He had 36 last year. He can get hot, but again, he'll probably stay around a point per game no matter what happens. He's played 1,054 games in his career to date, 435 goals, which is already 76th on the all-time list, 565 assists. His 1,000 points puts him 98th on the all-time list of scorers in the National Hockey League. 55 playoff games, 22 goals, 22 assists, 44 points. It's nice how it's double digits here, 5s, 2s, 2s, and 4s, but I think what would be more fun for Tavares would be if he had a Stanley Cup ring, because he has a lot of other hardware when representing Team Canada. 2014, he had gold at the Olympics, and odds are if the NHL does go back to the Olympics in 2026, maybe he ends up getting a mention, maybe he ends up getting on that team, we'll see. He will be a little bit older at that point. We'll see. 2008, 2009, both years he won gold at the World Juniors with Team Canada. 2016 he had World Cup gold, and 2012 he won gold at the Spengler Cup. So he has won everything that's not the Stanley Cup at this point. And well, there's no Memorial Cup that I saw either when doing research for this video, but the Stanley Cup is what he wants. Obviously, the Stanley Cup's what the Leafs have been, trying to build towards. And this is already year 6 for Tavares with Toronto. He was in New York for 11 years. So next year will be year 7 for him in Toronto, and then the question would become whether or not he extends with the Leafs. He could extend as soon as this coming July, or maybe he decides to move on and play somewhere else to finish out his career. Maybe a team like Florida, right? Because players tend to go to Florida. And wouldn't it be interesting if in 2025 he returned to the Islanders? I just throw that out there. Like, how would that work? Do you just boo him when he touches the puck and then cheer him when he scores? But at any rate, we'll see what Tavares' career holds from here. I just wanted to take a look at it at 1,000 points because it's interesting. I do. I find Tavares' career quite interesting. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Is he a Hall of Famer? Let me know why or why not in the comment section below. And if you're an Islander fan at this point, is the booing just for fun, or is the booing like, no, we actually hate this guy and we're going to hold on to this for the whole 7 years of that contract? But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.